Alright, so I never got around to making a video for this because I believe when Musashi came out, I never made one for her. So I did make one for Yorktown too, and I made one for Implacable. So the first time making a battleship gearing video. That's gonna be interesting. So regardless though, Bismarck ZWEI, right? I pronounced it right this time, right guys? Don't yell at me, whatever. I'm just gonna call her Bismarck too though, but I think I pronounced it right that time. Regardless though. BISMARCK ZWEI. So, how are we going to gear this ship? As always, to start off with the relatively new players because you guys probably have no idea how to gear this ship. So, first thing is first, I would skip the whole gray and purple, not gray and purple, gray and blue guns. You won't need these. If you guys are farming the event as of right now, I believe in T5, which is not D2, B2, what do you want to call it? I think it's called T5 in game. It drops prints for these things right here. So, you guys can get these from, I believe, USS boxes. So if you guys can't get them from the event, you can get them from USS gold boxes. So that's definitely very, very nice. But regardless, though, if you guys can get one of these guns, these are probably one of the best guns in the game as of right now, even for budget gearing. So you can't go wrong with it. That's very, very good. As for the auxiliary guns, the best thing to do is just gear for the highest firepower possible. For most of you guys that don't have access to gold gear or whatever, the Mogami Belfast gun is probably one of the best ways to get best ones to get because there's so many of these, so many ways to access these. So if you guys can get them, they're from Sakura Gold boxes, tier 3, or there's some from other maps or whatever. But for the most part, though, if you guys can't get these guns, which are very, very accessible, then go ahead and just toss on whatever purple guns you have for auxiliary. I believe this right here you can farm from 4-2 or something. So if you guys don't have that, go ahead and use this gun. It's good for self-defense suicide bombers. Even though I think Bismarck ZWEI kind of doesn't need it because her dragon just does a lot of the suicide bomber defense for her. But every odd volley she does, she doesn't have it out, so it can't really protect her all the way. But it does have some nice defensive though. That dragon is really, really good, so can't go wrong with it. As for anti-air doesn't really matter here. Just toss on whatever anti-air you guys have. If you guys have gold anti-air, that's great. I avoid pom-poms though because no one likes pom-poms. These anti-airs are horrendous. But pretty much any anti-air you have is the way to go. If you guys don't have access to these if you guys have access to the firepower anti-air though, go ahead and grab these. But these are probably like the end game stuff right here, so I won't worry about it too much. Stack buffers are already nice to have as well too. But for the most part, though, most of you guys are relatively new. You guys don't have access to the anti-air. Just grab whatever anti-air you guys have. Like I still have my purple Roombas right here, +6 or whatever. So just use that for now. Work around upgrading these to gold eventually, though. But for now, don't worry about it too much. And as for early game auxiliaries, if you guys can, because I think this drops from the same map that U556 meta drops. You guys can get some purple fire control radars. So we go over here, we go down to these things right here. Grab these and slot them in. I believe you can equip 2 of these if I'm not mistaken, so go ahead and do that. No need to gear BISMARCK ZWEI with health or whatever because she doesn't really need it. She's a battleship, she has heavy armor, very, very durable. You want to go firepower here, so go ahead and do that. And that's basically a standard build you would run for a BISMARCK ZWEI as a relatively new player. This drops from the current event T5 or from 6-2 or from USS gold boxes. These are from 4-2 or from like what faction are these? Royal Navy. So HMS gold boxes, you can get them from there too. These drop from Royal Navy boxes as well too, or you guys can farm them from like 7-2 if you guys are at that stage. And these you can farm from the current T6 map, which also has U556 meta. So go ahead and do that as well too. And that's how I would gear her. If you guys have augments, go ahead and toss on the bow gun for her as well too. And you're pretty much good to go. Can't go wrong with this. Simple setup, and you're pretty much good to go. Now, going into mid game, how you want to build her is if you guys are at the point where you can reach gold tier guns, that's great. Now comes the fun part. This is the part where you want to start working towards guns that can farm pretty well. The 406 MK6 can last you at this stage of the game as well too. But if you guys want to go more into like farming or whatever, depending on what you're doing, this gun right here, the 381mm, the hood gun or whatever you want to call it, great for farming, has low damage output, but it's great for farming because it's very, very fast. So if you guys can use these guns, that's great. Otherwise, though, you can just stick to this MK6. It's still a really good gun, even for a lot of endgame players as well too. So you can't really go wrong with it, and just roll with whatever situation it comes. At this point, what you should be worrying about is farming. So I recommend the faster gun, or if you guys are farming the current gun right now from I believe HT6, which is for the 100 ships or whatever that you can clear at the last map. You can use the FDG gun as well too. This gun right here, if you guys can craft these are also a great substitute. Has a mixture of both speed and damage. Not as high damage output as the MK6 that I just showed you guys, nor is it faster than the hood gun that I showed you guys, but it gives you a mixture of both, so you can't really go lacking in one department and like really high on the other one. So it's a little bit mix of both. The gun is right here. You can farm this in the latest hard map right now in HT6. So if you guys want to grab that gun, by all means go for it. Can't go wrong with it. Now, go for auxiliaries. At this point right here, if you guys can make the change to a gold light cruiser guns, go ahead and do so. It doesn't really matter for the most part when it comes to auxiliary guns or battleships. A little bit changes for suicide bomber defenses, but for the most part, it doesn't really matter too much. Just whatever gold light cruiser gun you have access to that has 45 firepower, go ahead and slap that on. So in this case, let's say I have the Mogami gun at long last. 45 firepower is the reason why I would want to use it, because the purple one right here has 25. So plus 20 firepower, let's go ahead and toss that on, and you're good to go. Now, as for anti-air, when you're at the mid stage of the game, you're roughly pushing into World 12 or roughly getting there. So you want to work towards a really good anti-air for the most part. Bismarck 2 doesn't really have really good anti-air to begin with. So you don't want to depend on her too much for your anti-air protection, but it's still nice to have some good anti-air on her. So the best one you can go for is just the good old gold Roombas at this point. I think I take these off from Mujina. Who's Mujina? Whatever. We're going to take these off her. You can get these from 7.2. You guys can get these from gold Royal Navy boxes as well too. Really good anti-air, lasted me like for years, so you can't really go wrong with that. I still use that as well sometimes because I don't have enough for the Bofors or whatever. So these are very good. Now, as for auxiliaries, when you guys are pushing into the mid stage of the game, you guys are getting core data. This is the part where we want to start buying things from the shop. So if you guys don't already know, the first thing you should be purchasing, or one of the most important things you should be purchasing from the core data shop, that you can find in the bottom left corner. You go to core shop right here, or core shop, and you want to grab these pencils. So the black and white ones are very good here. There's also some other things as well too, but black and white pencils are usually your essentials that people tell you to buy, and I would recommend these as well too. So the first pencil you should buy and work towards is the white one, because if you guys don't know, it has hit on it, which is a very important stat for battleship because you're gonna miss sometimes, and it gives crit damage. And if you guys don't know, the first salvo, or the first rotation of shells from Bismarck for every volley she does, is guaranteed to crit. So guess what? If it's guaranteed to crit damage is really good. So this is best in slot on her. So when you guys have that 800 core data, go ahead and buy it from the core data shop and toss these onto her, and boom, these will never leave Bismarck. Pretty much sticks there forever, and you're good to go. And for the second slot, you can't stack a second white pencil. I don't recommend it. We can for the stats, but you won't get the crit damage amplifier. You can stick to the purple fire control radars for now too. Or if you guys are really into your core data farming, go ahead and toss on the black pencils as well too. These are also very nice. Now I know the crit rate right here is negligible for the first salvo, but she also has like 2 other salvos that follow after in her volleys. So maybe those might crit, maybe they might. Regardless though, these give a whopping 85 firepower at plus 13, or for most of you guys that aren't at the gold play stage of the game as of right now, they give 70 firepower. Can't go wrong with it. It's the highest firepower modifier for regular battleships in this game as of right now, so can't really go wrong with it. And that's the mid-game player build for you. Still pretty accessible. A lot of it's from not royal boxes, gold boxes and core data shop, and the main gun sticks around, and that's pretty much your mid game right there. Now getting into end game, this is where it gets interesting. The build here depends on what you're trying to do. All right, so I highly recommend any battleship player to slowly work towards a 457. Yes, I know this gun right here is out of the ordinary, but I want everyone here to just work towards one, because having these guns is very good. even if you don't play with Helena, having these guns around is very, very important because there's Helena fights are basically up to 5 or not Helena. Having these for just regular content that isn't just bossing all day is very important because you're not bossing 24/7 every single day. You're farming as well too. So having these guns are very, very good. But work towards these. These aren't gear laps or whatever. It's gonna take a while, but I want everyone to work towards these. All right. Now, as for endgame player, gun options varies for Bismarck 2. You kind of want to treat her like as a New Jersey. So however you want to build New Jersey is how you want to build Bismarck 2. They work very, very similar in that aspect. So when it comes to regular old farming, if you guys have access to the Odin guns right here, these are from PR3. These are very, very good. I use these for farming pretty much. I used it for my 200 affinity rush 3 or 4 days ago. So highly recommend. Very, very good guns for that department. Can't go wrong with it. And or I'm gonna toss it on right now. So that's how I build farm right there, and so forth. So for the most part, for end game, the main gun changes the most. The rest of the stuff doesn't change too much or whatever. So end game. Okay, let's talk about the auxiliaries and stuff first before we get into the main guns. So 45 firepower pretty much sticks around, and once you get the 45 firepower gun, you're pretty much good to go for the rest of your that battleship's life until you get the light cruiser guns. Once you have access to the light cruiser guns, that's where you consider best in slot. There's a reason why I call these guns a plus 20 firepower because you get 20 firepower. You can't go wrong with it, right? But these take so long to make that I don't recommend like these right away because if you're at the stage where you're worrying about these, you are pretty much like maybe 3 or 4 years into your game's like account life or whatever, maybe a little less than that. But if you're at that point, you don't need to watch this video. You know, this is pretty much for like people that like play for like a year or less or something like that. But this is what you want to aim for. It's gonna take a while, but if you guys can get these, 65 firepower is the reason why I want to use it. 20 more firepower added onto your additional firepower. It's very, very good. And as for end game as well too, when it comes to anti-air, there are 2 options right here, right? So I have a rule of thumb. It's called the levels, and depending on the level of the content you're doing is the kind of anti-air you want to run for the most part. So if you're running like just regular anti-air stuff, Bofors, can't really go wrong with these. These are very, very good. I think these are from PR3 if I'm not mistaken. These are very, very good anti-airs. Toss them on. You don't have to worry about anti-air ever again. These are probably the best installed anti-air as of right now, or one of them. We're dealing with anti-air stuff. Well, aside from the Rainbow one, obviously. Rainbow one's actually the best in slot one. I take it back. And you're good to go. But again, if you're at this stage of the game, you're making these or whatever, you should be watching this video and you're aware of this. So so I guess, okay, these are best in slot. These are what you want to work towards. So for regular anti-air content, that's what you want to do. Now, when it comes to bossing, this is where it gets different. If the enemy you're fighting is about 5 levels higher or more than you, for example, right now I'm using Bismarck 2, BISMARCK ZWEI, at 125. The only content I can see myself using a different anti-air because they're about 5 levels or higher are arbiter fights. Okay, so for arbiter fights, if since they're 130, you want to run the stag Bofors stags right here. These are gonna be very important because when the enemy is higher level than you, they have more evasion, they have more luck. It's gonna get annoying to hit them. Like when your shells land on them, it's gonna stay missed sometimes, right? So having that 10 extra hit is gonna help out quite a bit. So I recommend if you're at that stage, you're doing some arbiter fights or whatever, having stag Bofors for arbiter fights is very, very important. Now, when it comes to your average everyday bossing, like meta fights, maybe World 14, some of the lesser fights in Operation Sirens, you want to run the Dido anti-airs, or the 134 MMs, what they call in game. So the reason why you want to run these is because 15 firepower. 15 firepower is very, very good because more firepower means more damage for your Bismarck. So I run these most of the time. I have the upgraded version, which doesn't do much, but these are what you want to run. These are very, very good because 15 firepower is basically free stats, and you just can't go wrong with it. More offensive stats for your battleships is very, very good. And as for your auxiliaries, these are nothing for these changes well too. As always, work towards plus 13 when you guys have the chance, and you're pretty much good to go. Sometimes the black pencil can be kicked out for a fire control radar, depending on what kind of content you're doing. Like as of right now, we have Queen Elizabeth meta, and the setup to clear her in 1 tap is to run a fire control radar. So if you guys can get these are from PR3 up, so PR3, PR4, PR5, I believe. These give your volley a 15% reduction on the first one, meaning they can shoot 4 times in one fight. And it's going to make your life much easier to get out as much damage as possible within a time limit. So depending on the content you're doing, these swap in between, but the white pencil sticks around. These will never leave. Ever, ever, ever. These will never, never leave. These are very, very good. I highly recommend these the most. Some people like the the black pencil and the fire control radar setup. I personally like the white pencil and the fire control radar setup because crit damage, very, very good. Even if you don't crit all the time, you're probably resetting, probably getting those crits, the usual stuff, right? Now, when it comes to gun, we talked about the farming aspect, right? Let's talk about the bossing aspect. When it comes to light armor bossing, if you guys have access to it, you guys been to the first New Jersey event. These are the best HE guns for bossing as of right now. The 406 MK7. You only get these from New Jersey's event. And I know a lot of people right now are like, oh my god, when is New Jersey's rerun over, right? So a lot of you guys don't have this gun. But this is the best HE gun for HE content as of right now. If you guys are doing HE content, if you guys have these, great, go ahead and toss these on. Otherwise, though, if you guys don't have these, you guys don't have to use a substitute. I recommend, again, the 406 MK6. Guess what? The UR New Jersey version was designed after the purple version, so keep that in mind. There's also the Monarch gun as well too, I believe. I don't have that gun. You guys can make them from PR1 or whatever. But these guns right here, these are really good at plus 13. I think this is the gun right here, and these are better than the MK6, the purple version. But it costs a lot of gold plates. It's negligible trying to make these or whatever, but they are a bit better than MK6 when they're plus 13. So if you guys want to make these for HE as well too, that's perfectly fine. Otherwise, though, I don't recommend doing that, putting all that investment into that HE stuff. I would personally just use the MK6. Even at plus 10 is perfectly fine. Just call it a day. Otherwise, if you have the 7 though, go ahead and toss the 7 on. It's much, much better. Wow, thank you for telling me I need to expand my inventory. Alright. So that is HE for you right there. This is how I build HE right here. Now comes medium armor. Medium armor is gonna get a bit strange. A bit strange. So medium armor, obviously the best gun right here is gonna be the 457 MK, or 457, not MK, just 457. Obviously we have Yamato gun, but it's very, very slow. I don't recommend using it on her. But we have this gun right here. Now this gun is very, very good if you're not using Helena or you're playing on manual, because this gun is very, very fast. And if you're playing on auto right here, most of the time this gun doesn't line up with Helena, and you're gonna be missing out on that 40% damage increase from her debuff. So keep that in mind. Otherwise, though, if you guys aren't playing Helena, then using this gun is gonna be your best in slot. It's a very, very good gun. I told you guys to work towards this gun. This is your best in slot right here when you're doing anything, just regular content, or content on medium armor where you aren't using Helena. This gun is going to be your best friend right here. Now, if you guys don't have this gun, or you guys are playing towards using Helena more, it's going to get a bit tricky. A lot of it comes to timing. If you guys are using Vanguard, using Duke of York, you want to go second or go third after Vanguard or Duke of York if you guys are using them for the buffs or whatever. So in this case, there's two choice of guns you can pick here. Either the Champagne gun, which are these right here, or you pick the Marco Polo gun right here, which is the SAP gun. Either or works perfectly fine when it comes to medium armor. It just comes down to whether you want her to go maybe second or third. Because if you guys don't know, the speed difference is very, very tight most of the time. It's like very, very tight. But let's say you're using like New Jersey or whatever, using Bismarck 2, your speed tied, you kind of, if you want New Jersey to go last, use this gun in New Jersey because it's about 0.07 slower compared to the Champagne gun, but it deals way more damage when it comes to medium armor. So this is why you would want to use that. Otherwise, though, for the most part, if you guys aren't confident using the Marco Polo gun because it's strictly for medium armor, then use the Champagne gun. This gun is actually really good for just both medium and heavy armor. You just can't go wrong with it. So for regular bossing medium armor, I would use this most of the time, assuming you are using Helena. All right, keep that in mind. Now, heavy armor. Heavy armor is gonna Again, there's a lot of guns right now that are lacking for heavy armor, battleships included as well too. You're not gonna have many options here. The best options, because if you guys don't know, modifiers for heavy armors are very low. Like if you go to ammo type AP, 120 mods, right? You're very low on the heavy armor department. So basically whatever gun for heavy armor or for medium armor that you were using before, minus the Marco Polo gun, because this gun is absolutely awful for heavy armor. You want to use for heavy armor, because 120 mods are the best you can get. As for the 457, this is also pretty good for heavy armor because 125, and obviously Yamato, gonna be guys having Musashi, is very good. But again, it's very slow, and you probably have this on Musashi right now, so you're probably not gonna take that off her. So keep that in mind. Otherwise, though, for heavy armor, either the 457, if you are using just regular normal fleet without Helena, works perfectly okay. Or if you guys are working with Helena as of right now, then using the 406 Champagne gun version, this works really with heavy armor as well too. As you guys saw in my video I made like 2 or 3 days ago, as well as the video I made last night with the BISMARCK ZWEI EX events, I used the Champagne gun because it has 120 modifiers right here, and basically it's my Queen Elizabeth setup as well too, and that's why I ran for heavy armor. Alright, so that's going to be heavy armor setup. Basically the same as medium armor. Can't really go wrong with it. And as always, like I said, if you guys need it to go faster, need to go slower, you want to match Helena timings or whatever, drop out the black shell and just toss on a fire control radar and you are good to go for the most part. Alright guys. So that is BISMARCK 2's build right there. It gets really tricky with battleships sometimes, because most of the time a battleship build that comes down to if you want to play around Helena or not, as well as what kind of enemies you're going up against. Sometimes light, sometimes medium, sometimes heavy armor. There's a lot around for it. Whereas carriers is just you run. It really doesn't matter if you line up with Helena or not, because most of the time they line up with Helena regardless, and you just match planes to match whatever armor or whatever. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Let me know any questions or concerns that you guys have for this video. And yeah, pretty much that's it. Thank you guys for watching. As always, good luck on your builds. Good luck on your farming for your BISMARCK 2. Hope you guys are enjoying using her a lot, because I know I am. This ship is absolutely bonkers. So hopefully I got out enough information for you guys, so you guys can build your own BISMARCK 2 up and have her decimate the battlefield just like mine is right now. So thank you guys for watching as always. See you guys in the next one.